Hey guys, I hope all of you are doing well. So I welcome you all to yet another video in this Azure Data Engineering course, and in this particular video we are going to see how we can basically parameterize our pipeline. So till now we have seen how we can parameterize our link service, as well as we have also seen how we can parameterize our data sets. Now in this particular video we are going to see how we can parameterize our pipelines and how we will be passing the parameter values to the pipelines so that we can pass the values dynamically in our pipeline. So in this particular whole course, we have talked about multiple concepts with respect to data engineering, cloud, Azure, and Azure Data Factory. So currently we are covering Azure Data Factory in a very depth and a practical way, where we are also referring to the documentation. So if you are trying to learn Data Factory in a great detail, this particular whole course can be very helpful for you, and you should be watching the video in the sequential way so that you don't miss any of the concept, and you are in a better position to understand each and everything, as this particular whole course will be a kind of correlated videos. So with that said, let's get started with this video and let's get straight into the system. So as in the previous videos, we have already seen, right, that how we will be parameterizing first of all our link service, right, and how we will be parameterizing our data set, right. So we have already created basically a demo data set output, right. We have already parameterized this, right. So let me also parameterize this input one. So okay, this is from blob. So either what I will have to do is, let me close this. Okay. So click on new. So if I'm going to create a new link service in that particular case, okay, no worries. Okay, so let me do one thing. Let me just select this blob one itself. If sure you want to apply the link service to an empty, okay, no worries, right? So here you can also see that we can add some kind of dynamic content inside our blob connection also, right? But let's keep it the same way, right? So our container name was uh, ADE copy data demo, right? So it's, or I can just click on browse ADF input, maybe employees.csv itself. Okay. So I have connected my file path, done with it. Parameters, right? Let it be. I don't think it's currently too much required, right? Now, what I will be doing is I will now create a copy data activity, okay? Where as an uh, input thing, we will utilize this dataset demo input dataset, and as an output, we will output basically our whole pipeline will look something like this. We have our Azure blob, right, and whatever blob value will be passing, or whatever blob file it will be having, it will dump into an SQL server database. Okay, so this will be our whole pipeline. This will be basically a kind of copy data activity, right? So let me do one thing. Let me create this field as a dynamic, right, file thing. So I will do what, I will come here as a parameter. So I will write as, let's suppose, file name, right, and the expected default value, or I can click here, I can do it in this way also, right? So I have added the file name as dynamic, my container, that is ADF, right? If I come here and if I go to containers, right, so this ADF and this input folder will be hard coded, right? So I want that any file that is present inside this input directory, inside my ADF container, it should be dynamically selected and copied to this particular database, this SQL Server database, right? This is the requirement that we have. So what I will do is, I will first of all create a copy data activity. I can name this copy data activity, let's suppose as blob to SQL Server, right? And timeout and all these things are fine. Now from source, I will do what? I will select my demo input demo input data set, right? Now as soon as I select this demo input data set, you can see it has already provided me something as data set properties, and it's asking me to provide a value, right? So let's suppose I provide a value as life underscore expectancy dot csv, right? And then rest of the things are fine. Now in sync, let's suppose again I select my dataset output demo, right? And as soon as I provide this dataset output demo, the default value that I had provided is already taken. If I have to provide some other value, for sure I can do it, right? Let's suppose instead of the sales, I want to select as life. Okay, so I can write that particular thing also. Cool. Rest of the things remains the same, right? And now, okay, where did it go? Okay, right? So now what will happen is, my copy data activity will work something like this, that it will go to my blob, right? Inside my blob, it will go to the path that is adf slash input, right, slash this life expectancy dot csv, right? Whatever parameter basically I have passed here. Okay, it's not sav, it should be csv. Okay, right? So it will go to this particular file, and then what it will do, it will basically perform a copy data activity, and where it will write the data, it will write the data to sync. So in sync, whatever server name I have provided, right, onto that server, right, the database name is life dot, and the table name will be again life underscore expectancy. Okay, so I'm just writing here as expect and something like this. Okay, so this is life underscore expectancy table name, right? So it will copy data from here and it will dump my data from here to here, right? But now you can, in this particular case also, you can say that somewhere we are providing the data in, or you can say somewhere we are providing the values in a hard-coded way itself, right? And I would totally agree to your point that we are providing the values in a hard-coded way currently also, right? So instead of this, now what we can do is, I can remove these values, right? I can remove these values. And what I will do is, I will click here, right? I will just, like, if I have selected these, I will have these hard-coded values, or I would have these options to provide the values to these data sets. If I click anywhere outside this particular activity, I will get something like this, right? And here, if you see, again, we have an option of parameters, and these parameters are on a scope of pipeline level. Okay, earlier the parameter was on a scope of linked service level and dataset level, and these parameters will be on a scope of pipeline level. So I can click here and I can maybe create basically a parameter as, let's suppose, source thing, right? And it will be having a string value, right? I can just click here and then I can create something as destination. Okay, and it will, I have not provided any kind of default value, and I can provide as, let's suppose, db name, right? So db name from pipeline. Okay, so that I can distinguish between the parameters, right? And that's it. I have created these variables, and now what I will do, I will click here, right? And okay, not here, right? Once these parameters are basically created, now what I will do is, I will come here and I will not debug, I will add a trigger, right? And if I click on new, right, and if I try to create a new trigger, right? So let's suppose I am creating blob to SQL server. Okay, so this is the pipeline name. I will be creating a schedule trigger. Okay, let's suppose it will run and something like this. I will click on OK. Now you see here it's asking me to provide the parameters before I publish this particular trigger, right? If I don't provide these parameters, right, it will publish the trigger, right, but it will not be able to basically access any of those. So in that particular case, I have to provide the parameters here. So I can come here, I can click on OK, and here I can provide the values in a dynamic way, right? So let's suppose my source is life underscore expectancy dot CSV, right? And my destination is, like, my table name is, again, let's suppose life underscore expectancy, right? And my database name is life, right? And I will click on OK. So now what it will do is, it will basically, this trigger will do what? It will go to this input folder, right? ADF/input. It will pick up this life underscore expectancy file, right? And it will go to the SQL server, and inside SQL server, it will dump this particular data into life underscore expectancy table, right? Now if I want to dynamically add something, now I have a few more data inside my blob, right? Now I want to basically dump this addresses.csv file into the address table, right? So what I will do is, I will not create any other linked service, I will not create any other data set, right? I will just do what? I will just create another trigger. I will come here, okay, I will click on new. Let's suppose I am renaming this particular trigger to SQL server dot maybe I am providing the file name as life expectancy. Okay, I have renamed this particular thing so that you guys can understand. Okay, here I am copying the life expectancy dot CSV file. Now I will do here, I will come here, I will create a new trigger, right? And here I can write as blob to SQL server. Okay, and now I am copying my employees file. So employees, right? And I am keeping the same thing because currently I'm not triggering it, right? Now my source will change to employees.csv. I guess I'm naming it correctly, right? Employees.csv, right? My destination table name will be again employees, okay? And my DB name for from pipeline can be, let's suppose, life itself, or maybe if I am creating a separate DB, so I like, if I have a separate DB, it will not create automatically, right? So guys, you need to keep this particular thing in your mind, that these parameters are not going to create a new DB or a new table for you. Those DBs and tables should be present in your server or in your data source, I would say, wherever. If you are using an SQL server, or maybe a MySQL service, right? In that particular case, your databases, your tables, schemas, and all those things should be predefined. This particular pipeline or these parameters are not going to create them for you. So you need to keep this particular thing in mind, okay? And if I will click on OK, right? Now basically I have two triggers, right? So trigger one, now if I come back here, if I close this, if I come here to manage, and if I go to triggers, right? Now this employee trigger will do what? Okay, employee trigger will do what? It will basically copy my data. Okay, copy data from where? From input slash ADF slash life underscore expectancy. Sorry, this is employees one. So it will copy data to input slash ADF slash employees dot CSV. Okay, it will copy this file to it was employee database dot table name was employees, right? So to employees, right? And this life expectancy one, what it will do, it will again copy my data from where input slash ADF slash life underscore expectancy life underscore expectancy dot CSV to it will copy basically to life dot life underscore expectancy table, right? If I remember it correctly, right? Expectancy, right? So you can see here we have utilized one linked service, right? Not one linked service, basically two linked service, because one linked service is of source and the other linked service is of destination, right? So we have utilized here two linked service, and even if I am creating one single pipeline without parameterization, also we will require two linked service itself, right? So we have used here two linked service, right? One linked service was for the source, that was for connecting to blob, and the other linked service was for connecting to SQL server, right? If it was a blob to blob transfer, then in that particular case we could have only one linked service, but it's better that we are going ahead with two linked service, right? So we utilize two linked service and two data set, right? Why two data set again? Because we were utilizing basically two service. So one data set was pointing to the blob source, and the other data set was basically pointing to the SQL server data set, right? So again, now if I want to create a third, basically a third pipeline, right? Let's suppose now I have a condition, right? I have a condition where I have to copy this addresses.csv. So I will do the same thing, right? I will do what? Right? I will come here, click on new, now blob to SQL server addresses, right? Schedule and all those stuff is fine. Sorry, right? Schedule trigger, I can click on started, right? And okay, I haven't attached a pipeline or what? Okay, fine. Because I did not attach a pipeline, it's not asking for the parameter. So let me do one thing. I will come here and I will have to attach it to this particular pipeline, right? So I will do what? Blob to SQL server, okay, and all these things are fine. And as soon as I attach to the pipeline, it's asking me for the parameters. So no, it was addresses, ADDRESSES, addresses.csv, right? Destination can be, let's suppose, addresses itself, table name, right? And database name, let's suppose, is employee itself, right? Employee.addresses, right? And if I click on OK, now we have basically created three pipelines, right? Or you can say three triggers. The same pipeline, right? The same pipeline will now copy the data. If I talk about it, okay, now it will copy, it will basically copy data. Just pardon my writing because I'm using the mouse. Okay, it will copy data from again input slash ADF slash addresses, okay, dot CSV to employee dot addresses. Okay, it will copy data to here. So now again, the number of linked services, number of data sets, right? Even the activity, one we are using one activity also, these remain the same, right? Now if I want to do any other copy data activity, I can do it for sure just by creating a new trigger, right? So now I guess you guys have understood what kind of power I would say, or what kind of flexibility is a better word, right? What kind of flexibility these parameters provide us, right? While we are doing, or where I have to do some kind of repetitive task, right? Here I am doing copy data from the same source, but of different files to different databases inside my SQL server, right? But the activity that we are doing is the same activity. We are just copying the data from here to from position X to position Y, right? So in that particular case, I only require two linked service, two data set, and one single activity to create basically n number of activities. I can create n number of activities here, right? Not exactly n, right? We cannot create, let's suppose 10,000 if I am remember it correctly. So there is a limit of 64, right? 64 or 256. I don't exactly remember the correct figure right now, but it will be more than enough, right? That using one particular basically from one pipeline, we can create those n number of triggers, right? So I hope you guys have now understood the utilization and the power of parameterization. So in the next video, I will try to show you guys how basically we can do it in a practical way. Cool. So I hope you guys learned something new in this particular video. I will see you in the next one. Till then, keep learning and keep growing. Bye-bye.